It's been said that luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. Welcome to the Australian Hunting Backcountry podcast, where we will focus on all things hunting in the backcountry, not just in Australia, but everywhere that backcountry hunting is possible. My name is Tobias, and if you're a hunter with no backpacking experience, or even an expert, I would like you to join me as we explore gear, places, and technologies, hear lived experiences, different perspectives, and share the passion that people have for a hard-earned backpack hunt. I appreciate you being here with me as I try to increase the knowledge that will bring us better luck in the backcountry. Any questions or anything before we kick off? Or?
No, not really. I'm pretty open.
Yeah.
All good.
We've already had a practice away.
Yeah. All right, too easy. Welcome everyone to this episode of Australian Hunting Backcountry. Today I'm very pleased to be joined by two giants in the hunting industry, people I consider giants anyway. Zeb, you might actually be a giant because there's not too many people that I actually have to tilt my head up to look up to in the eye, but when I met you, I definitely did have to look up.
I might have had my heels on, did I?
Yeah, those 6-inch stilettos. So I've got Zeb from Zeb's Hunting Adventures and Thane from Rogee Productions. So welcome to you both again.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
As I said, I appreciate you being here, making the time. I know this is. I know we had a couple of false starts, so it's been good that we've finally been able to connect.
Absolutely.
So today, essentially, the first thing we want to discuss before we start going down rabbit holes is boots and footwear for backcountry hunting and systems that you guys use and techniques that you use in your foot care and so forth. So there's a particular brand I want to talk about. They're called LOWA. You guys might have heard of them.
Yeah.
Only a little bit.
Yeah. So obviously you guys are both brand ambassadors for LOWA, and that I guess we could to start with discuss how that came about for you both, because in terms of the hunting industry gear that's out there, there is quite a few options when it comes to boots, and a lot of the companies are out there trying to influence people in any way they can, using brand ambassadors such as yourself to promote their gear. So you both potentially would have had, I imagine, opportunity to use other boots or potential to approach companies to be a brand ambassador. So Zeb, I'll start with you. I think what was the journey for you that led you to LOWA Boots?
Yeah, rightio. So a long time ago, sort of back when I was about 17, I discovered that European boots were just way better than the stuff made in China. And I was lucky enough to have a little bit of money to throw at a good pair of boots, which happened to be a pair of Meindl Macaloo.
Yep.
Which is quite a strong, sturdy, stiff-soled boot. And for a very long time, that's what I ran. But at one point there, I'd sort of wore out that pair of boots and I was looking for something to replace them. And they actually didn't make the Macaloo anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I went looking for something to replace them because Meindl weren't actually making anything that sort of tickled my fancy. And I came across the LOWA Tibet and found it to be like way more comfortable than the Macaloo in the Meindl. And so I ended up buying a pair of them, and over the course of 3 years, slowly but surely wore out a set of treads out of them. And I was super impressed, loved them to bits. Those boots just took me everywhere, and I never had any dramas with them. And so I was at the point where I was needing to buy another pair. And I was building my channel at the time, and I thought maybe I could be a little bit cheeky and try and hit up a LOWA distributor or a salesman and see if I could get them to sponsor me. And basically that's what happened. I went through my local gun shop, who passed on my details to their lower rep, Rob, who operates in Victoria and that in Australia. And yeah, he contacted me and said, "Yeah, look, I've watched your channel before. I know who you are. I like your style, and yeah, let's meet up and we'll see what we can do." And yeah, so from that, basically, yeah, talked to him on the phone a couple of times and decided how we wanted to go about collaborating, and basically just came up with being an ambassador for LOWA in Australia, in the Samba hunting scene, the Vic Alpine sort of country. And yeah, so yeah, went through all the paperwork sort of side of things, because it is actually a contract that you sign and all the rest of it. You've got obligations to fulfill as part of it, which is all good, and it was nothing that I wasn't expecting. And so that's how my association with LOWA started. But the first pair of boots was paid for out of my pocket, and I love them that much that I approached LOWA and said, "Hey, look, I love your product. I think we need to team up because we need to get these products out there and in the Samba Hills, basically, because I just found their quality was unbeatable."
Yeah, great. All right, and Thane, I know we haven't met face to face yet, but I am working on getting you an invite over to the Deer Expo for next year. So hopefully then get to meet you. I do believe from what Neil told me is that you may suffer from a little bit of vertical disadvantage. So
Are you calling me a short ass?
So Thane, your social media, I've seen you wearing a couple of different types of boots, and you're doing a lot of pack training and hunting in them. So that journey for you to get to LOWA, where you are now, tell us about that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I guess mine kicks back in around probably the same kind of age as Zeb, really. But mine started through the military. Obviously, sort of back in the day hunting, it was in freezing worker gum boots, the big white ones, the abattoir ones, those ones. So I sort of kicked around and just dirty old hunting in bare feet. So introduction to boots, full stop, like proper boots, was through the military. And to be fair, New Zealand military pretty shitty boots, just basically glorified John Bull safety boots without the toe cap in it, And but that was my first legitimate introduction to what we would call ankle supportive lace up leather boots, and then. Didn't really know any better, and then sort of done my time in the military, got out and sort of was looking for, obviously, once I wore out my military boots, what next for me, in terms of the boot department. I sort of fart-assed around with a High-Techs and a pair of Keens, and I think sort of told the story to you two boys the last time, but heading out for a hunt in a pair of, I think, Keen boots or something or other, and shot a deer, a couple of deer actually, right across the dirty big face, and cruised across there to recover the deer. And the two of the lads who had already shot a deer up the other side I radioed them up to come and give us a hand. And as I sort of was waving up my headlamp for the boys to come across, I fucking stepped over and rolled my ankle viciously on a rock, and I thought I'd broken my ankle, And I just thought, nah, that's it, mate. And I'd had friends in LOWAs. I had friends that were shepherds and high country shepherds, and they were all running LOWAs, the Mendels and all that sort of stuff. But LOWA seemed to be like, as far as they were concerned in the hunting scene at the time, LOWAs, particularly the Tibets, were like the apex predator boot. And so I didn't hesitate, because it just really sort of pissed me off that I rolled my ankle, and I just basically got out of the scrub. Sort of that weekend. Saved up all my pennies and straight into the hunting and fishing, and bought myself a set of Tibets. And so I'm like Zeb, my first pair of LOWAs were purchased, but that was off primarily off the reputation of LOWA boots from friends and other hunters, and you just knew that was the boot. I didn't fart-ass around with any other model, straight to the Tibets, because I just knew that they were the ones that all the lads were wearing, whether they were hunting here in the North Island, New Zealand, or down the South Island. So and I kind of just, at the same time, started getting into the YouTube social media scene and started to build my channel and my profile. And it's hard case, because my journey is very similar to Zeb's in terms of how I got introduced to the LOWA company was a sales rep for another part of the business because those sales reps, they're all connected, all those boys. They all sort of roll in the same, whether it's the apparel, the packs, all that sort of stuff. They're all sort of connected. And he sort of really enjoyed my channel, and we just happened to be talking. He goes, I know the LOWA rep. And that's how it pretty much started after that. And then we hooked up, had the conversation, similar to Zeb, got the contract, and sort of was, I was just so mad keen just to get another free pair of boots. I was in there like a robber's dog, And my first set was once I sort of burnt through my Tibets, was another set of Tibets, and I guess that started on my journey and my relationship with LOWA, and just like Zeb, I signed into a contract, and it's not hard to comply, particularly if you already have quite a strong social media presence. We are sort of required to post a hashtag to support a lot of the initiatives that they're kicking off. They're just doing right. And now I'm not too sure if they're doing that in Oz, but they're doing the If Your Boots Had Eyes initiative over here. So and they're good people to work with, man. I mean, they're good. They understand sort of where we are with hunters. They don't put too much pressure on us, in terms of really pumping the social media stuff. But I've like you've noted, I've got quite a few pairs. I'll chuck them at me to field test the boots, and I just keep saying yes. Yep. As you can see in the background, these all 10 pairs of them up there. Yeah. But and in doing so, I am afforded the ability to be able to, because I pack train. If I'm hunting, it'll be 3 days a week. Stop on Wednesdays, recover the legs and feet and all that sort of stuff. So and then on a Friday. So I'll rotate all through my various pairs of boots, just to keep them, supple and keep them working, and then and maintain that social media presence, because the boots are always in my. They're not sort of. I don't really push them hard, but the guys know I've got LOWA boots on. So it's pretty easy to participate on that side of things in terms of being a brand ambassador. But my journey so classically the same as Zeb. It's not funny, But I just like I said, they're really good people to deal with, and the boots are just second to none, especially those high end ones that like the Tibet and the other high countries and the Rangers, those ones sort of that fit in that market for us hunters that hunt the hilly country. So that's pretty much been my journey to date.
Yeah, right. Well, those the disco boots that you wear too, they're pretty pretty identifiable. There's not too many out there that look like that.
No, mate, no, they just and to be fair, they're it's good to test drive them on behalf of our followers. We can give we are. Zeb knows this. We're very mindful of LOWA. We're being part of the brand ambassador team, and trying to be as honest without sort of nailing the product, but being honest to say to the guys, this boot is more suited for this type of hunting. And those we call them the disco boots. They're so light, man. They're freaky light. They're the lightest pair of boots. They're even lighter than those light Inox GTX boots, which are basically a running shoe with a high top, and they're just fantastic. But these things are so ultra light, but the sole was so rigid. There's just no flex in them whatsoever. So I've got to quickly get off the road and get up into the hills, because it's like wearing like a pair of ski boots. Clog buckles down the road there. So you got to get into the hill country. So that's where they're suited. But when guys message me specifically about any one of the pairs that I'm using, I give them an honest opinion about where the boot's more suited. And I've got flippers for feet, mate. So I need the GTX wide models. Like I said, I'm very appreciative that I'm given the range of LOWA boots that I have been given. But like I said, Zeb will talk about his new favourites and my new favourite as well.
I'm a bit similar, mate. My feet are apparently a little bit odd. The right side is significantly wider than the left, so I'm a bit like you. I previous occupation I was given a uniform and a pair of boots to wear, and if they didn't fit, that was bad luck. You had to make your feet fit, and you had to keep your boots polished at the same time. And that kind of led me down, because of the pain that I suffered and so forth. And I didn't have the option to change boots without the correct authority, like somebody, like a podiatrist writing me a letter to say he needs these sort of boots. So that kind of led me down that chasing the podiatry and learning more about boots and why those boots were hurting my feet, why other boots I'd had hurt my feet. And yeah, eventually it kind of, that's where I learnt that I need a specific, not a specific type, but more in the European style of boot. The manufacturers, because of the lasts that they use, are different to the last that other companies use. You've got the European last and you've got American last and that sort of thing. So some particular brands of boots are quite narrow because of the last that they use. Scarpa's one, for example. And I have tried a pair of Scarpa boots on, and even though I went longer, I still couldn't get them to be wide enough, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like you, Zeb. I found a pair of Mindle boots that fitted really well and were quite comfortable. They still weren't perfect, but they were good. And then that led me into the Lowas later on through Lathrop and Sons, who are a family business in America. They're podiatrists, and they've got this whole system where basically they do an online consult and they send you out these ink pads and you send them impressions of your feet and take photographs and that sort of thing, and then they'll actually script a set of boots to match your feet. And funnily enough, they do have their own brand of boots that they sell, but funnily enough, they actually recommended that I go into a set of Lowa Tibets. So that's how I ended up, because and had to go into the wide, and then what they did was actually stretch the right boot for me a little bit as well. So consequently, yeah, I ended up in the Lowa Tibets with the inner soles from Lathrop and Sons, and same thing. I haven't looked back. I don't want to bother trying another pair of boots, because these ones just have resolved 98% of the foot problems that I ever had. So, like you guys over the years, you know, we were probably influenced by magazine articles and other hunting mates and so forth in terms of recommendations for boots. You know, you read an article, somebody does a review on these boots, and of course they all say, these boots are great, you know, they're super comfortable, you know, blah, blah, blah. But as we all know, boots are very individual, and there's no guarantee that what your mate has is going to fit you. So, yeah, I learnt the hard way, spent thousands of dollars over the years trying different sets of boots and working out that they didn't actually work for me, and then figured out why. So in terms of the Lowa, you guys, you kind of alluded to it already, but you both have a favourite pair, no doubt, favourite model. So I think I know what it is, I'm pretty sure, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard to guess. They're pretty new on the ground over here in Australia, but the High Country GTO, or GTX actually, Evo GTX. I've had them now all this season. I've probably put about 160, 180 Ks on them in the bush. And yeah, they're just next level. I don't know how they improved upon the Tibet, but they did. And it's simply just that lace system. It's basically all the same features that you would want from the Tibet with a better lace system. And the lace system that's different is just down near the toes, which with the Tibets, I did find a little bit of an area that needed to be broken in. But with these High Countries, it's just out of the box comfort, but in a mountain boot, which is, I don't know, it's not even heard of. For a softer boot, like your Renegades and that, you take them out of the packet and you're good to go. It's like having chewing gum that's already been chewed for you. But these High Countries are the same, but in a stiff sole, very high ankle support boot. That's just exactly what you need for backpacking and that steeper terrain, rocky stuff where you need that support. And that stiffer sole to be able to grab that edge and use your toe a little bit here and there. So yeah, definitely. I've run 2 sets of Tibets run them out basically, and love them to death, and would have them again tomorrow if I didn't know about the High Countries. Yeah. So the high countries are definitely my favourite for the kind of hunting I do. They're a big, strong boot, but super comfortable. I've also got the Elite Evos, which are a lot softer boot, which I love for the lower sort of country, more undulating sort of stuff, not as hardcore. They're super comfy as well, super aggressive grip, and they actually got their own grip, not a Vibram grip. They got their lower grip on those ones, which is quite interesting. But yeah, no, the favourites are definitely the ones I'm wearing at the moment, which is the high countries, and they're performing excellent. Yeah, I haven't got any complaints with them yet.
No. Yeah, I'm not the same. I just funny enough, I was feeling guilty that I hadn't taken my bits out for a boogie. So the last hunt I went on, I put them on as if they were like an old girlfriend. Okay, girls, let's go. But I'm like Zeb. It's just to improve on the bit upwards. Yeah, they nailed it. They nailed it with the high countries. Just that the ability to just squeeze up a bit more tension in around that toe box. And if you sort of look at the boots, they're a sort of blend with the Severdales. If you're looking at the lacing system, because the Severdales, which is the model up, heading towards more your alpine stuff, it's got that lacing system that goes right down to the toe box. And when you look over the top of the high countries, they do look like more of an alpine boot in terms of the way the laces go right down. Whereas the Tibet has got a distinctive gap between the bottom of the laces to the at the front of the rand. So I just same thing with Zeb. Like I put them on, and I just took them for a pack train straight away, and it was just like what'd you say? It's an old piece of chewing gum or something. And like I said, I just couldn't believe, and I took them down to the South Island to hunt, shoot my first tar, and that was just bouncing all over rocks and through crossings and stuff like that, and multiple different types of terrain. But they just perfect thing, just but hard because I do run all these other models, and I sort of treat them like all girls. They all get jealous when I take the one pair. So, but yeah, mate, I can't, friends, mates, they would ask, and I'd always push them to. There's only two models I would tell them, the guys, if you guys are going to stay up the steep terrain, we'll get the Rangers. Rangers they're just the perfect boot for that sort of moderate rolling country. But the Tibets was just apex into that hilly stuff without going full alpine. But now it's just. It's high countries. That would be my recommendation for guys that are going to maybe drop into that soft rolling stuff and then want to step it up into the sort of hilly stuff, like that Vic stuff that you got over there, Zeb, as well as the sort of steep country down the South Island and then the North Island stuff as well. Just they've absolutely nailed it with the high country.
It's funny that you refer to them as old girlfriends, because I often say to people that boots are like relationships. They all seem great at the start, but after a while you realise that they actually cause you pain because they're wrong for you. So,
cost your money too,
not the lowest, mate.
Yeah, cost your money. Yeah, exactly. That's like that was what I suspected, was that you were both into those ones. So, I guess this is the thing about Lowa is the delineation they make between the different uses for the boots. So you have your backpacking boots and hunting boots, and they do list them specifically as hunting, and then the other boots, whether they're service boots or that sort of thing. So we're sort of without our technical support by Craig not being here, but I guess if I could ask both of you to sort of talk about the differences between a hiking boot and a hunting boot, and why we would want to go to a hunting boot.
You're first. Off you go.
Me first? All right, no worries. Well, I suppose it all depends on your terrain. And then now a hunting boot is more than likely going to have a full rand, or it should have. I feel it should have a full rand because that's going to protect the leather. A hiking boot, you're more than likely following a trail, whether it be a really well used like game trail sort of a thing, but you're generally going to have some form of a track in front of you where you can actually put your feet in good positions. Where a hunting boot, you're going to be cross country. I call it freestyle through the bush. So you've got rocks, sticks. You might be pushing through tussock country where you actually can't even really see where your feet are going. So the boots have got to be able to handle whatever you throw at them. And a high rand, and what they've done with those higher countries with that full rand and that higher rand at the back of the heel. Especially if you're going downhill, and I'm sure you guys over in NZ with your scree slopes and stuff like that would appreciate that higher rand at the back of the heel there and all the way around just to protect the leather. But also like the lace systems, I suppose, with your hunting boots, I really like to have the hooks at the top just for quick on and off. If you happen to come across a river crossing that you've got to take your boots off to keep them dry because, you're going in well over your knees or whatever. Whereas a hiking boot's probably just got eyelets all the way to the top and they don't have the eye lock system and that sort of thing that the hunting boots have, which, you can basically do up your boots once in the morning and then take them off 12 hours later and they haven't lost any tension. It's a crazy thing to not have to worry about your shoelaces once you've done them up once. That's it. She's done. But I think the hunting boots in general, well, the boots that I prefer anyway, have a stiffer sole over a hiking boot. When you're doing that cross country contouring, where you might be having to bite those edges in to stay, upright, basically. When you've got a boot like a hiking boot, you tend to roll the sole of your foot, which fatigues you, and it's not as comfortable or as stable either. And so I think that's the difference between a hunting boot designed for hunting and a hiking boot that you could use, but it's not as good. It's like you could buy a Triton. Why would you buy one if you could afford a Land Cruiser?
You were going to say Hilux.
But you know what I mean? Like there's horses for courses, and hunting boots are designed to handle what we throw at them. Whereas a hiking boot might handle it for a little while, but I guarantee you it's going to wear out a lot quicker.
I think just to build on what Zeb said, as probably the distinction is especially with the Lowa, they have a weight classification on them too. It's sort of a preferred how much weight those boots are generally. I think with 25 kgs top end type stuff, and then that's a lot of weight to be kicking off with to have on your back. But we all know we load up shit, 40 kgs of especially with sandbirds, man. They're big heavy animals, and that's where the boots really sort of step away from the hiking boots. Just not only do they've got the sole to take the weight, but they've also got the stability to stabilize your foot. Even if you're kicking out on that steep stuff and you've got that weight bearing down on your back, you've got to be able to trust those boots to be able to hold you up straight and edge in nicely when you're sidling around some of those places. And I mean, like I said, I've got a variants. I've got all the military-based boots. I've got the Enox, which are all technically, especially the Enox boots, the GTX. They're a lightweight tramping boot, and like I just see, and I pack train on all of them, and I can just tell you, they're comfortable until you start getting up in the hills and you start to feel. You can understand when the sole is quite different with the proper hunting boots, because you can feel the rocks not cutting into the bottom of your sole, but you can see that your foot ends up molding over the top of the rock rather than the sole being stiff enough to sit on the top of it. So, and I think it's only at that top end of pressure is where those boots really separate themselves. Like Zeb said, you can get away with hiking boots, and that's exactly what I had with my original story with the Keen boots. They were just tramping boots, and then they just failed. They failed when I needed them to handle the gentle. But I think just the weight classification, the stability, and to touch on what Zeb said about the Lowa's got that unique lacing system too, so you can separate the two lacing components, the top and the bottom, and that's vital when you're transitioning from uphill to downhill. Obviously you want to make sure that they're nice and stiff when you're going down, so you don't want any slop in your foot and the boot, so you cinch them right up. And then obviously when you're walking uphill, you want that flex to happen on the top of the ankle, so you don't want it to, be, in the crease where the lace locks are. You don't want to be creating a friction point there where you start to cut into you. So, I mean, the ability to have those two separate lacing zones based on the terrain you're going, I think that's absolutely excellent as well. And the laces, they cinch up well, they hold well. So yeah, I guess those are the key components that really separate the two between the hiking and the hunting boots.
Yeah, no, I think you both nailed it on the head there. I was talking to a guy last night. His handle is the Game Dietitian, and he's a personal trainer, and he's also a nutritionist. And one of the things that he said was that backpack hunting, he's a hunter himself, and one of the things he said was that he considers hunting a sport, and he treats it that way because it is so different. It's not. It's not like walking on a bush track, well-worn bush track, where you're just putting one foot in front of the other. Where we're basically doing, parkour with a pack on, crossing logs and rocks and uneven, and your foot's twisting one way and then it's got to twist the other way in the next footstep and things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. You nailed that. And I think the other thing that I've really appreciated with the LOWA boots as well that you guys have mentioned is the lacing system, and that locking eyelet seems to be only available on the LOWAs. I haven't seen anything like that on another boot anywhere. I don't know if you guys have, but it's certainly one of the things, like you said, one of the things that I really noticed about the LOWAs, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I haven't, well, to be fair, I haven't really, other than my transition into LOWAs, I haven't had my feet in another pair of boots. I mean, that's just, you get used to what you get used to, and I guess that's the thing. And to be fair, as a brand ambassador, that taught me this stuff too, that I just chuck them on and go, but then they go, well, you need to talk about this though, and that's where you learn, oh, okay, is that what that's for? Okay, cool, yeah. But yeah, no, I just, I guess, it's a bit hard to say if you haven't been in another pair of boots to give a point of view on that. Both you boys have been in Mendel's and stuff like that. I mean, I just transitioned out of pretty crap boots straight into the Alpha Dog boots, so I can't really offer an opinion on any other brands. But I only own LOWA now.
Yeah. And Zeb, you did a video a little while ago on a lacing technique.
Yep.
Did you develop that yourself, or was that something that got shown to you?
No, that was something that was shown to me quite a few years ago when I was looking at buying another pair of boots, and this older bloke that was selling the boots in the shop goes, no, don't do your boots like that. Do them like this. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. And I started using that technique with the Tibet, because they have those hook system up the top, and like we talked about, the eye lock system, so you can basically cinch up your bottom laces and let go of your laces, because they're cammed over, they will stay tension. And then like what we talk, it's hard to probably talk about it and imagine it, but you go from there to the top and then lace down and cinch off your bow down at the middle, which actually prevents any tension loss at the top of your boot. And once I started doing that, I've never laced my boots any other way if I have that ability with the hooks. Some boots have eyelets all the way to the top, like your the Elite Evos, they have eyelets all the way to the top, so you can't tie your laces any other way than as you would your shoelace to go to work or whatever. But if I've got that hook system at the top, I'm definitely lacing from the middle to the top and down and cinching it off there. It's definitely been a game changer for me, and I think a lot of people that have seen it have tried it and gone, yeah, that actually works.
Yep. Is that on your YouTube, Zeb, or just on your Patreon?
Yeah, I think that one is an old one, actually. I think that's an old one on YouTube. Yeah, I'd have to actually look for that one. That's how old that one was. Or maybe I need to do it again on the next video and just refresh everyone's memory of it.
Have you got any special technique for lacing, Thane?
I'm going to watch Jeb's videos. it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just adjust it accordingly to the terrain I'm on, and I know, particularly when after I've done a recovery and I'm going to go down screeds and stuff like that, I cinch my bad boys up. I just don't want any slop and flop in there. And then obviously when I then punch down and then I've got to punch back up to where the camp is, I'll zip the tops off and readjust them. Yeah, just because I just know that I'll hurt me bloody feet if I don't readjust them. But no, I've never sort of I don't know, gone off other than the basic lacing technique. But I'm definitely going to have a look at the video.
Check it out.
And one other thing that important thing that you raised then as well, Thane, was about the ability of the boots to carry weight, because it's not just about being able to walk and grip and all that sort of thing. It is about providing that support to all of the elements of your foot, because it moves in 3 different sort of axes, basically, or this is how it was explained to me. You've got the side to side and then the front to back, and then also the twist as well. And at the ankle, so the boots have got to be able to support all that. And I remember a trip I'd taken on a new set of boots with me. I won't mention the brand. It wasn't LOWA, but and on the walk in with my pack, I had this incredible pain underneath my foot, which I found out later on was the plantar fascia, and walked in and I was limping by the end, and we had a fair hike in. It was about 20 odd Ks hike in, and I was limping, well and truly limping in pain by the end. Anyway, unloaded the pack. Next day, hunted for a few days with a lighter pack, and then on the walk out, exactly the same thing happened. And when we analysed it later on with the podiatrist, they told me because the boot was not offering you the right amount of support. And it felt great, once again, really comfortable in the showroom, walking around the streets, doing some exercise and breaking them in and so forth, felt great. As soon as I loaded it right up, boom, that's where the problem started. So I think in terms of breaking your boots in and training in them, real life training is really important to work out those bugs. So that's where I guess you come in with your pack training and loading your Tatonka pack full of water bottles and that sort of thing. I know, Zeb, you're a bit of an ultralight fiend.
Yep.
I saw you complaining one day on one of your videos about having to carry 18 kilos in. And I thought, shit, I'd be happy if I could.
My rifle.
If I could get mine packed down.
I suffer from a old motorbike injury on my left knee, so I have no ACL. So I don't have much lateral support there. So I do wear knee braces to try and counteract that. What I found a few years ago was that I was having trouble with my knees. After a weekend, I'd come up and I'd have swelling and fluid on the joint, and it wasn't an issue on the hunt, but it was always the recovery. Sometimes I mightn't be able to get going the following weekend. I'd have to wait 2 weekends before I could be fit enough again to go. So I went and saw knee surgeons and all the rest of it, and they basically didn't really offer much other than they could do a reco and put it back in there and potentially stir up the arthritis that was there and all the rest of it. So it just became a bit of an issue that I thought I needed to address, and the best way I found was to lower the amount of weight that I was carrying. So that's when my ultralight research, or obsession I should say, just went full tilt, and I worked out all the products that the through hikers in America were using, because when you start looking at hunting gear, as in packing, everything's got a strap and a buckle and it's got a pocket, and all those things are great, but they add a lot of weight. And so I started looking at real minimalist type of packs and gear to go along with it that was compact and light but still could get the job done. And I ended up dumping, in the first 12 months of trying to be an ultralight, I dumped 3.5 kilos out of my sleep system alone. And then like cooking as well, I dropped about I think it was 800 grams out of my cooking utensils. You know what I mean? From stainless steel to titanium, smaller in size because you've refined your system, and then obviously the pack itself. Now I use a Hyperlight. It's it weighs less than a kilogram, but it doesn't have the bells and whistles of the hunting packs of today. It doesn't have gun scabbards or side pockets, or it's pretty simple. But the reason for that obsession with lightweight was due to my knee, and I wanted to keep hunting, and I like hunting hard and way back and in steep stuff where most people sort of grimace and go, no, I'm not going in there. It's sort of like I've got to work out a way to keep going in those areas, and that's what it was dropping that weight. But in the same breath, having boots that could give you that full support, even though I might only carry 10 or 15 kilos, you still need that ankle support to give you the confidence to go into those nasty places, Hopefully the less people go.
Yep. And I guess, backpacks are a whole different topic of conversation, but you've still got, regardless of how much weight you're carrying, you've still got that challenge of walking on that uneven terrain and sometimes not being able to see what's underneath where you're putting your foot down and that sort of thing. So I can't tell you the number of times that the boots have saved me from having a rolled ankle. Them, and between them and the walking sticks as well, I'll always carry walking sticks now. Between the two of them, I can't tell you the number of times it stopped me from an injury or falling over. So, but no, I understand that with the injury that the reasoning behind that. Have you looked at? We're going off topic here, but have you looked at stem cell injections at all?
No, I haven't actually, because basically since I've lightened my pack, brought a mountain bike, and go hunting as regularly as possible, I don't, touch wood, don't have any dramas. I don't generally get the swelling. Like I just did 11 days in the bush straight, and pushed it as hard as I could, and I got stiff, but I didn't really swell up and all the rest of it like I used to. So I think what's happened is I've managed to, what I did was once I dropped the weight and took the pressure off and kept hunting without injury, without swelling, is I built muscle that wasn't there. I built strengths in the other tendons that were getting stressed and stretched from having having the really good knee braces, going to walking poles like you said, quality boots, and lowering my pack weight. I actually feel like last year I was as fit and healthy as I've ever been at 40, and I've been hunting all my life. So just a combination of things.
Yeah. Look, everybody's got a level of tolerance when it comes to discomfort, and some people are prepared to carry a little bit more weight if it means that they can reach that threshold of comfort. And Thane, I know from some of your videos, you've got quite a high tolerance to discomfort as well. You've got a sort of similar camp set up to Zeb, where you're sleeping under a tarp and a very light ground sheet.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably the opposite end of Zeb. I've got pack sponsors as well, and the sort of, I'm running the Tatonka modules, which is a sort of frame system now, and now of recent time, probably the last year and a half, I'm running a shooting tripod. A lot of the places I sit to high angle, steep downhill angle shooting in it, so I sort of need that tripod to. So that's another 3.5 kg strapped to the pack plus the rifle. Yeah, bro, I know. I can see you grimacing already. I can see your knee quivering too. Yeah,
his knees starting to hurt already.
Limping. But yeah, and all those things, just you sort of. Yeah, I mean, a number of times I've left that tripod behind and just really paid in having to do a sort of half-ass shooting position and missed, or just regretted it. So now it's just become part of the kit. But I sort of I can't, and Zeb, cameras, tripods, GoPros, batteries, it's all that other shit that no other hunter carries unless you're up, that we run YouTube channels and stuff like that. And it's not just the weight, but it's the bulk too. People get this, the bulk of the cameras and the tripods and stuff like that. And it's just, no tents for me. It's all tarps, sleeping under there. And then when I hunt with the lads, we'll share things. We always intend to say, well, you bring this and I bring this, and then they open up the kit and they've brought everything, kitchen sink and everything, and then we eat like kings. But I guess that's the as we all get older, we've got to be mindful of sort of how much we physically can carry, and that's just to get us in there. And then, like I said, we shoot something, and then all that stuff Zeb's talking about, he's going to add 20, maybe 30 kgs of meat in there as well, and it's just like us. I mean, I don't card bones out because I don't eat bones, and so I try and take as much as and then the hunting over here, not like over in the States. I can just whip the back legs off back stacks and front legs if I want to, and then we don't have to cut all the meat out in between the ribs like the Americans do, So I mean, because they're still a noxious pest over here, so we can just take the back stacks if we wanted to. But generally, you go there to at least take back legs, back steaks, and if you put the bullet trays through the shoulder, we leave those bad boys behind. But and that all means to bring that meat back to camp, and that goes into your pack. I mean, the only thing you're really sacrificing, you're giving up on the walk out is water and food that you've used while you've been in there. But you're generally going to go out heavier, and that's where you got your fatigue too, because you've obviously punched in there, sat there, shot the animal, recovered the animal, and then you have to tool up, put all that shit back onto the side of your pack, the meat in the pack, and then grind out. And it's normally a hefty grind, and and this is where back to the boots to be able to just sort of and Zeb will get this, and you will too, Tobias. It's just carelessly throw your foot, You sort of, we were there, head down, ass up, and we were sort of trying to get back to the car and not think about how much weight's hurting, cutting us in our backs, but just to have that platform, that you don't got to worry about your feet or the stability of your ankles. You can just sort of, throw your feet a little bit casually and just sort of head down, ass up, and head home with a bloody heavy weight on your back. But I'd love to go down that pathway of trying to trim the weight on it. But like I said, I've got a dirty big long range cannon, tripods, T12, and just big cameras, and just and then even then, just the water's the big thing. But the water, fucking trying to find water in the hills, man. And it's just you sort of resist. No, I'll wing it. I'll go and I'll find some water, and then you go next minute you're drinking out of a dirty old stand wallow.
Wallow.
But I mean, I guess that's the thing, having the faith, well, not even having to think twice about our boots. That's the thing about it. We think about, we think about everything else bar our boots, because our boots are just that's our foundation. So you don't have to worry about stuff like that.
It's not even a conscious thought. As well.
No.
Once you're in these boots, then you've finished thinking about boots. You've finished thinking about your feet. You're done. You're thinking about something else. It's not a consideration anymore. There's no, should I do this, or it's just walk out. And you get out and you just look at those boots and you just go, yep, they've done it again.
That's right. It's one, like you say, it's one less thing to worry about. You're not going to worry that your boots are going to let you down, your feet are going to hurt, all of that. On this episode of Friends of the Podcast, I'm joined by Matt Vincent from Mountain Gear NZ. Matt's been a previous guest on the podcast, and for those of you that haven't listened to that, go back and have a listen to Matt's interview. But on this segment, Matt, I just want to get you to give us a quick overview of your products here and the sort of things that you recommend for backcountry hunting that you sell.
Yes, I'm Matt. I am based in New Zealand at the top of the South Island. I'm really passionate about hunting, and particularly sort of in the mountains and deep in the backcountry. Last year I spent a bit over 70 days hunting myself, and so that sort of led to a business which focuses on functional and lightweight equipment. We sort of focus on things like bipods. We have a kind of a crossover product between a ice axe and a trekking pole. It's heavier duty and has additional functionality that you won't find on either of those, and sort of targeted towards hunting in the mountains. We also have sort of lightweight functional products, sort of rifle hunting shooting related, bolt handles, titanium bolt handles for Tikas. We make our own range of Picatinny rails where we go to that sort of next level of detail. We machine out all the additional material to just save weight, and then a lot of our rails have sling tabs. That's sort of something that seems to be missing from the market. It's an easy solution for people to have a rail and still retain their traditional sort of sling setup.
Mm-hmm.
But really one of our biggest focus is probably the bipods. And then with the sticks, and we've really spent a lot of time to get every last bit of functionality you can out of a bipod and allow you to set up and sort of any situation, terrain that you have in front of you to kind of get that shot off, and what's often sort of stressful and adrenaline-filled circumstances, and quite often kind of less than ideal terrain.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, on your website, I see quite a few photos there outlining the uses and then the functionality of the bipod, and it really does look to be designed by someone who has put a lot of thought into it, and actually would use it in the mountain hunting sort of scenarios.
Yeah, and it's sort of when you try and communicate sort of our bipod versus maybe your typical Harris bipod, it's very hard in a way to sort of make those comparisons. Typically, with a Harris bipod, people are comparing, what's the leg length, closed versus extended, and that sort of way of, I guess, defining a bipod just doesn't work with ours. The legs are adjustable in terms of their spread, and so that means we can go from 8 centimeters of height all the way up to 40 centimeters, which is just doesn't really, it can't be done on how long do the legs extend to sort of basis. And then similarly with the it's got over sort of 50 degrees worth of tilt and cant, and then essentially unlimited panning if the bipod's positioned in a way where the parts won't clash. You can go through 360. One thing we really focused on is with the legs and all the adjustment is being able to do it one-handed. So things like the portion of the legs that moves is on the outside. The adjustment of that is at the top. So if you're things like in the dust and dirt and snow and water, it's you're not putting your hand down into the snow to adjust those parts. It's at the top, and you can go up and down. You only need one hand. Whether you're behind the rifle or you're carrying the rifle for whatever reason, it's pretty common to make that shot and pick up the rifle and kind of move towards the animal sort of thing, and you can readjust or stow the bipod away, or in reverse if you're getting it going up to a lip, and you get it set up. And so it's really just that's been the focus, to make everything as functional as possible. And obviously with the backcountry and mountain hunting, weight's been a huge focus as well, and while we haven't designed to the weight, we've kind of designed to the functionality. That's been quite a big consideration as well. So the mountain bipod itself is 140 grams. So sort of at that weight where making it hard to, leave at home really.
Yeah, it's light enough to certainly, there's no real weight penalty for that. And if you can carry that and get the functionality that the bipod obviously has. I mean, to go from, like you said, from 8 centimeters to 40 centimeters, and other bipods, first of all, wouldn't be able to do that, or you would have to swap legs out and use a different carry a different set of legs.
Yeah, and even we've all probably had experiences on uneven terrain where you extend one leg and then the other leg's not extended at all, and it's still too steep to really, set up on steep terrain. We've tried to design around that so you can basically just plop it down, and as long as you have the legs spread out in a stable enough position, then you can essentially just tilt it to level and anything essentially. And sort of all of our products follow that sort of way of thinking, where we are not trying to just save weight at the expense of functionality. We're actually trying to bring something that's as functional, if not more functional, and then reduce your weight burden as well. And particularly around how things are going with rifles, just being incredibly accurate. I don't necessarily believe you want a lightweight rifle, but with all the fantastic scopes and stuff out there, then trying to get a package where you're as functional as you can possibly be.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And this day and age, it's getting easier and easier for people to extend their effective shooting range with ballistic turrets and good laser range finders and premium ammunition and components. So a stable platform certainly forms the basis of that, and I can see that's where these bipods would come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and probably the other big product on there that I know and was my introduction to you is the mountain stick. I have an earlier version. I've used it for many years, and I see you've made some alterations to the new ones now.
Yeah.
So just give us a quick rundown on those and why people would want one of those for their backcountry hunting.
So we call it just a stick. We're at version now 4.1. And what we've really tried to do is bridge the gap between an ice axe and a walking or a trekking pole. Often trekking poles are quite thin, lower legs, prone to, being damaged in rough terrain, thick bush, maybe you're crossing a river with large boulders in there. So our stick has just a beefier, I guess it's beefier everywhere, but in particular, the lower leg over a regular trekking pole, and then it's got on the head, it's got a pick attachment very similar to a ice axe. It's not a rated ice axe as such, so if you're going mountaineering, we would recommend someone else's product, but it's for those people who you're in the mountains a lot. You're not necessarily going to take an ice axe, but it's sort of a mountain tool that's handy whether you do need it in an emergency on ice, or even just things like you're going up through real steep bush or a steep gut in the tops, and you want another point of contact where you can reach up a meter further than what your hand can extend to and hammer that into the roots of a plant or around a branch or a tree trunk, and just give yourself another point of contact in steep terrain. Things like pulling out rocks at campsites, trench around your tent when it's raining hard. Comes with a saw blade attachment, which you can use as sort of like a pole saw. It's a lightweight saber saw blade with sort of an adapter in there, so you can replace that blade with any saber saw blade from your local hardware store. Comes with a snow basket, particularly for probably not so much for New Zealand and Australia, but particularly for North America, where they get lots of light fluffy snow.
Yep.
And then kind of one of the key features is in the top it has a slot for a Picatinny rail, and it has a ball in there, so your rail and your rifle slides straight in, and it has a quick detent, so you can get it together and apart very quickly. And then it's great to use as a shooting stick. One of the key benefits over many shooting sticks is it's actually attached to your stock. So it's just one less thing for you to manage in the heat of the moment, and you can actually load up into it. And you move. All you need to do is lift your rifle up and go, and the stick comes with you. So it's just again, trying to provide a whole lot of functionality in one product that is always with you, trying to reduce the amount of time that you have that functionality on your pack. I know a lot of people who go around the mountains with an ice axe on their pack, and they go to cross a snowy chute, and it's only 5 meters. I can't be bothered taking my pack off.
Yep.
Or maybe they've left it at home because it's the middle of summer. But here in New Zealand in particular, I've been up on New Year's Day. And this is kind of where the stick came from initially, and crossing an icy chute late in the afternoon in the shade. And, we're in kind of the hottest region in New Zealand.
Yep.
And Mackenzie Basin down the South Island, and here we are in the middle of summer at sort of 3,000 meters crossing what could be a quite treacherous situation. And so this is just a product that hopefully reduces the likelihood that you are out there without something that's useful. And also, actually, in those situations, one thing I haven't mentioned that is really handy is having an ice axe that's extendable, and that means that you can actually cut steps in the ice and snow quite a long way in front of you. Which is something that nowadays the ice axes have kind of gone away from. You'll notice sort of the historic photos, a lot of people carrying around sort of 2 meter long ice axes for cutting steps and stuff. And so, just trying to provide as much functionality in that one product.
Yeah, and at on your website, there's two lengths in the weight, 562 and 596 between the regular and long. So even if you were carrying that on your pack, for part of your trip, that's not a big weight penalty at all, to have that added functionality and I guess an added layer of safety there as well, as you say.
Yeah, and I kind of view it as it's about the same weight as if you were to carry an ice axe and a trekking pole together. But it just means that you've got both in your hand at all times, plus a few extra features. And then even things like it comes in handy. Maybe you shoot a great stag and you want something to go across your pack to kind of support the antlers, stop and swing down into you.
Yep.
I've done that with a trekking pole, and I end up with 2 half trekking poles pretty quickly.
Yep.
So
all right.
It's kind of a sturdy mountain tool.
Yeah, and you've got some other accessories in development still. A snow shovel attachment to go on the stick, and no doubt in the future there'll be some other things that you'll think of. So looking forward to seeing what you come out with. All right, Matt, what's the best way for people to find you and have a look at your products?
So for anyone in Australia, it's mtngear.nz is the best place. Obviously, I'm New Zealand based, website's New Zealand based, but a lot of orders from Aussie, and tried to have as much information there as possible. If there's anything we missed, go to the contact us, comes to my email. Try to be pretty responsive. If you go to social media, Instagram, Facebook, it's ntngear.nz as well across both of those. So it's exactly the same as the website URL. And there we try and post lots of photos of customers and just the products on different setups and different situations, and try and provide some information and and kind of so you can hopefully envisage how you could use a product and how others are using it. And US, North American, US and Canada, it's ntngear.us across the URL for the website and social media as well. So yeah, any of those channels, flick us a message, and we will get back to you pretty quickly.
Yep. Great. All right. I like hearing that the guy that's out there testing this gear is also the guy that's making it, and the guy that's going to answer the emails. So
yeah, and we've actually talked about that here quite a bit. And I think answering the emails in particular is something that, I might not be able to deal to all the emails in the future, but being connected with, how people are using the product and if there's any issues, and just, that communication, I think, with the customer long term is pretty important. Yep. And also it's one of those things where most of the issues we've had in the past have been pretty minor, and just having that connection with as many people using the product as possible generally means, one, if there is an issue, you're dealing with the person who designed the product, so we can understand what's going on generally pretty quickly, and give a recommendation or provide parts as needed, or in the future design those issues out, or even just design additional features in as we get customer feedback. And it's one of those things. I've had a few people say to me recently, I'll wait for a stick 4.100 and I've said, well, you better give me some ideas because I'm all out of them right now.
Yeah.
And so, just that connection, and also too, there's just a level of satisfaction hearing from people using your products out there.
Yeah.
So,
and we personal satisfaction for you knowing that your fingerprints are on all of these products and people are out there enjoying them.
Yeah, and long term, we got to make sure we stay an engineering and really an engineering company and not a marketing company.
Yep.
And they are our products, and we I guess are personally invested in them working well for people.
Great. All right, Matt, thanks again, and I'll put some links to your social media and website in the show notes, so people will be able to find them there, and look forward to seeing what else you bring out in the future.
Yep, there's a long list of things that we hope to get to.
Great stuff. All right, Matt, thanks again.
Cheers.
I mean, I always talk about the 3 Bs: boots, backpacks, and bedding. And if you can get those 3 right, everything else you can compromise with, or you can do without, or But if you can get a good night's sleep, and if you can comfortably walk in with your boots and your backpack, then you'll overcome a whole multitude of issues.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too. So you just sort of made me think about having a military background. You'll get this. There's a term we use: gear for 4 bears. And it's when I get home, I'm very strict with my boot regime. When I get home, my baby's just carted me off the hill. And it's my rifle first. My rifle gets cleaned and put into the gun cabinet, bolts, all that sort of stuff. And the second thing I look after is my boots, because they're generally covered in shit. So they get a brush down. They get a brush down, a wash down, and then I'll apply waterproofing spray. And then once they sort of dry up, I'll put the moisturizer, the lower creams and the lower sprays on them. So I mean, they're just and that's just it's just a thing. Say thanks to the boots, So I'm still dirty. I haven't had a shower yet. Haven't kissed a wife yet. So, but that's the first thing. That's my routine when I come out of the hills. I just rifle, gears before beers, rifle, and then boots. Pretty much Zeb will be the same too. In terms of look out, and the products they give us for the for boot care is just and I've only just, I don't know if you know this, Zeb, but I've only just realised that overdosing them with the spray make waterproof them next level. Bro, next level. Yeah, keep spraying them until they get a glaze on them. mate.
Yeah.
And they're like, when you hit that wet grass, the shit just beads off, mate. It's just like full on. Yeah. Because you get that, you put the spray on and so forth, and then you sort of start walking in the grass, and you can see the leather starts to take, starts to absorb a little. It doesn't get to your feet, but you can just see. But like when you get them brand new, those bad boys just bead like a raincoat.
They do, yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't know if the LOWA boys are prison, but spray it out until she can't take any more spray, mate. And I tell you, the last hunt I went on, they stayed primo the whole hunt, man. Like, and I was in mucky stuff and cutting across grease spaces and stuff like that. But yeah, mind you, the can of spray's not that cheap, but it works, mate. It absolutely works.
Yep.
Well, that was one of the next questions I was going to ask, was about your boot care routines and so forth. But just before I do, Zeb, I've been on a few ultralight hiker forums, the guys that do those through hikes, the PCT and so forth over there, and they're next level. They are, not only do they cut their toothbrush in half, but they then trim the bristles down as well to try and cut some weight. So that's the lengths that they'll go to. They literally are talking about how many ounces they can get their pack weight down to. Yeah.
Well, the best one I've seen there is they get their toothpaste and they squeeze it out into Glad wrap, like in a line, and roll it up, put it in the freezer, and once it's hard, you can snap them into day portions of what you need, and then you only take the amount of toothpaste that you need. And I'm like, yeah, that's my kind of thing. I like that. I have a little tiny Colgate, like about this long, and all I do is at home, I'll get the big one, and I just put them like as if they're kissing, and I squeeze this one into that one and fill him up, and that's normally good for a few trips. But
Tobias, he's the one-ply toilet paper guy too.
Yeah.
And even then he tears it in half and just uses one finger.
Watch the fingernails, mate.
Yeah. I use these little things called Swispers, I think they are. They're made by Colgate, and they're like little single-use toothbrushes with toothpaste already injected onto them. Having said that, well, full disclosure, I don't brush my teeth every night when I'm in the backcountry, but anyway, yeah. I will admit too that I do ration my toilet paper. I'll sit at home and work out how many sheets I use, per wipe, and then I'll just multiply that out over 5 days or 7 days or whatever it is. Throw a couple of wet wipes in, and then I'm good to go. But I have seen blokes turn up literally with 2 full rolls of toilet paper still on the roll. And I'm like, bloke, how much do you shit? Like, how much toilet paper do you need?
Oh, I don't know, mate. You've been on the freeze drive too long, mate. You shit a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So boot care routine. So, Thane, you've already sort of spoken about what you do after a trip. And you just use the LOWA products. Is it Water Stop and what's the cream called?
And the cream. Yeah. And the cream, LOWA cream, active cream.
Active cream, that's it, yeah. I was quite surprised when I got that, because I was so used to having to use waxes on boots and being told to use wax on leather boots. And the cream's a water-based cream, and it's quite light, and so I was quite surprised when I got it. But the system, the combination of the two, like you say, it obviously works.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. You got to be very mindful of chucking anything on there that's not recommended by LOWA. You avoid your warranty and all that sort of stuff. And I know guys that have gone and got the Tibet, put the Hubbard's grease all over it, and then try to go back because maybe the rand's peeled off or something's gone wrong, and LOWA, rightly so, have said no, we won't. You avoid the warranty because you haven't stuck to the regime that they suggest to to get the best out of their boots. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I have been lucky to be able to have the products available that align with the boot care regime anyway.
I do remember.
I think if you're gonna spend that sort of money on a pair of boots,
hard, mate.
To look after them is
exactly.
It's not even a conscious thought.
Yeah. I do remember hearing years ago about a boot company that refused to warranty someone's boots because they used dubbin on them. Do you have dubbin over there? Do you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the same as that that Hubbard's grease that they use, boot grease, and I know some other. I think mates they came with the Scarpas. I think the boys bought some Scarpa boots, and you get the Hubbard's grease in like a little shoe tin thing, and they sort of, I don't know, that's what they say to put on their boots, you know. And but like I said, I mean, I've never greased my boots up. I mean, I've just stuck to the products, and I've never had a problem, you know.
Well, apparently Dublin has a bit of a petrochemical base to it as well. So what happened was obviously it then delaminated the rand and dissolved the glue. And when they found out that they'd used Dublin, they said, no, we're not warranting it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I'm not saying don't use Dublin on your boots. I'm just saying because it's obviously designed for saddles and that sort of thing rather than boots. And it may work well on like the RM William boots because they don't have things stuck to them. But I do know from reading that they won't warranty it when you're using something other than what they recommend.
You got to understand what the products are for, I suppose. So back in the day when we used to run snow seal and wax and beeswax and all that sort of stuff, we were talking about leather boots that were not waterproof, and that was the waterproofing. Whereas nowadays our waterproofing comes from Gore-Tex lining. And all you're trying to do with the waterproof that you spray on is to actually prevent the leather from soaking the water. That's not actually to stop it getting through to your foot. The Gore-Tex lining is going to do that. And then your active cream is purely to keep the leather supple so that it doesn't crack. Because you've got zones that will increase their wear when they're flexing. And that's what that active cream is there for, is to prevent that from any sort of cracking.
You've got those two areas, like on the toe and then right at the ankle, that constant flexing and extending. And any other advice about boot care? Like initially when you get the boots, are there instructions about what you would do first of all before you take them out?
I think probably back to sort of post-hunt is if you do get them wet, it's not, and this is low. I mean, they're very clear about this, not force drying the bloody boots. You know, not stick them out in the hot Australian sun, and you know, keeping them somewhere cool enough to got enough air flowing around it. Newspaper in the boots, undo the laces, all that sort of stuff. And I mean, that's your time where you do your treatments on the outside. And Jesus Christ, I had my GTX Alpine Experts, and same thing, put the newspaper in them, and I left them too close to the veranda at home, and the sun had come in and just hit the front of the rand and bobbled the rand a bit, you know. And I sort of, okay. Now you sort of take these recommendations with a grain of salt. Mate, what are you thinking about? The sun'll be fine for them. And then I just thought, you dipstick. Jesus Christ, So I mean, that's a learning for me. That's why they recommend it. You know, don't put them in open. Don't put them next to the open fire or one of those. You know, I mean, I remember before I got sponsored, we had 2 pairs of Tibets and a pair of Rangers all around the dock hut fire, you know, drying or just warming our boots up because it was snow outside. And then the lower rip goes, great photo, guys, but FYI, don't force dry the boots around fire. Oh, cheers, mate, thanks. But I mean, that's you know, because even with the waterproof lining, sometimes, you know, you're going to get wet feet. Whether, you know, it runs down your pants and gets through the top of your socks and soaks your boots through there. Or you do a river crossing and you can't be bothered taking your boots off, or you just, I mean, and that's the thing about it, just being able to dry them out properly is critical as well. And not force drying the bloody thing.
I'll second that with the fire. I had a client early this year with a brand new pair of boots, not LOWAs, but a brand new pair of boots, and we got fairly wet. Both of us got fairly wet just from the wet bush. And like you just said there, Thane, you get wet pants, you get wet socks from the top, and it just soaks in. There's no way. I've tried to develop a couple of techniques to stop it. I think I've worked out a couple of ways where I can prevent it for a long time, but I can't get it for any more than a day. But going back to this bloke with his boots, we had the big fire cranking, and he's got his boots out and he's got rocks and he's setting them up. I said, mate, I wouldn't put them I wouldn't put them near the fire to start with, and if you do, don't put them too close.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, nah, it's good. I'm going to dry them out and all the rest of it. So I'm busy cooking tea and mucking around, and I come back to the fire and I'm like, I can smell rubber. I said, are you keeping an eye on them boots, mate? And he goes, yeah, why is that? I said, oh, I can smell them burning. He's like, no. Anyway, he gets them, and like in the dark, looking at the fire, he goes, no, they're fine. I said, I can smell them, mate. Anyway, he put his headlamp on. He goes, oh no! And the front of his Rand was literally like melted.
Mm.
And then he goes, oh, what? And he got the other boot, and it's the same thing.
Oh.
And then I said, oh no, you've wrecked them, mate. Have a look. The toes curled up. So he actually, like physically, the leather had shrunk. So you could see lines like where they had pulled in.
Yeah.
And his toes were like ramps.
Yeah.
And he couldn't wear them.
Yeah.
They were done. $350 pair of boots, gone.
Yeah.
Done. So never ever by the fire.
Yeah.
I think
what I've found is if you don't have access to newspaper, if you're up the bush, but you have a pair of dry socks, put a pair of dry socks on, that will soak a fair bit out.
Yeah.
Then get those socks out, dry them by the fire, whilst you got another pair of dry socks on, and rotate them through while standing in them, because your actual body heat will actually put heat into them and dry them out with the rotating dry socks. And you'll actually be surprised how quick you can get them dry, not by having them near the fire, or dry enough anyway to keep hunting. But yeah, my regime's very similar. It's come home. If they're muddy, they get washed straight under the tap with a big stiff brush to get all that dirt off them. Then they get put in the shed where there's no light and pull the inner soles out, let them dry naturally. I've got the benefit of, if I'm going hunting again recently, is another pair of boots comes out. Whereas, the average bloke's only going to have the one pair of boots. But I would suggest that, you just put the newspaper in and let them dry out. And then you go through the sealing process again, because when they've been wet, it really does knock the leather around. So you've got to replace all those moisture from when you get that drying process, it dries the leather so much that you need to put it all back in there. Otherwise it will get cracking and wearing.
Yep. I think we've all been guilty at one time of putting boots too close to the fire and doing silly things like that. But before you know, you don't know what you don't know. So no one's got any excuses now. In terms of your foot care and other parts of the foot system and so forth that you have outside of the boots, like socks and that sort of thing, what are you guys doing there?
Do you want to go first, Thane?
Oh, it's all those. Sort of partnership with LOWA over here in New Zealand. So we were only wear Thorlo socks, and it was funny when I was back in the military. A lot of the stuff you hear from, because your Apex Special Forces guys have got the top gear, and they were turning up with and they had Thorlo socks, for all their long beach and tramps and stuff like that. And it was one of those things that just stuck in my head. So whenever, because they're reasonably priced. Whenever I could, I would buy Thorlo hiking socks, and they got that, they're double padded on the toes and the heels and that. So that's I don't own any other socks than Thorlos for my hunting. It's just I have a obviously different types of gradients of it, hiking, light hiking, all that sort of stuff. I wear them to work as well. So, Thorlos have been my go-to sock for years. Particularly with my hunting and sort of training boots anyway.
Yeah, well, this year I've been running the LOWA winter sock actually, and I'm wrapped with them. They're like a really fitted, like almost like a stocking fit. Like they look too small when you pull them off the packet, and you're like, nah, but they actually fit like a glove without the fingers. But prior to that, I was just running merino treads, I think they were called. What I find is you've got to hunt with good quality socks, but good condition as well. Don't be running a pair of socks that you've had for 2 years and you've literally you've worn them out.
Yeah.
There might not be a hole in them, but there's half the material remaining on the heel and etc. Good quality socks, but in good condition socks. One of my mates is a classic for buying a new pair of socks each hunt he goes on, and then once they've been on a hunt, then they become work socks.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, he doesn't get the hunt a hell of a lot, but his thing is fresh, brand new socks, and it really is a thing. That extra cushioning.
Yeah. Yep. And do you guys run any liner socks at all?
No.
I did when I hit the South Island. I was up in the deep snow with my alpine boots. I did take the waterproof socks. You know, the wetsuity type of ones. You know, I mean, it's just one of the sponsors up there. And I mean, there's only so much a boot can handle. You know, when you get total saturation, you're in the snow like all the time. There's only so much a boot can handle. All boots get overwhelmed. I mean, I was hunting with a couple of guys, and this one of those other guys, because he's Mr. Kuiu, got everything's apex, you know, and he was dogging lower, and he had a pair of Saliwas or something like this, and he was just going off about how his feet was dry, and then I said, well, I've got my waterproof socks on, and my feet are cold, but they're dry inside it, but I know my boot was compromised. We spent 3 or 4 days, you know, knee deep in snow. And I'm just thinking, I'm calling bullshit, mate. I'm calling bullshit. So we got down to this hut, and we sort of all took our socks and boots off, and his looked like a little wrinkled little raisin feet, mate. And I go, mate, those feet are wet. You're full of shit. You know? But yeah, I mean, I tried those, and they were great. But the thing is, you'll get this Zeb device, when your feet are so cold, like it's just even if they're dry or they're damp or whatever, you just feel like you've got a pair of blocks on the end that connected to your ankles, you know. And the only way you get them to warm up is move. It's just move. And we just couldn't stand still to glass for deer. We were just wanting to move the whole time, you know. As soon as you sat down to have a cup of tea and a bite to eat, mate, you just couldn't wait to get back up and start moving, you know, and then get back down to camp, whip the bloody things off. And then another thing too was making sure you kept those boots inside your tent or close to your body heat, so you didn't wake up with, you know, frozen boots. I mean, I don't know how many YouTube videos I've seen of the boys down the South Island, and they've got these boots and they're frozen. Like, I mean, that's no good for your boots too, you know. Jesus, and then they're like the Tibets. Boys are running Tibets and they leave them outside the tent, and they're frozen, you know. I was just like, oh my God, man, you know. And you've got to get up in the morning, put those bloody things on. You know? And I've seen guys pouring hot water on the boots. Come on, you know. But yeah, the waterproof socks, those sort of light wetsuit ones, they were great for when I was down in the snow. You know, I took them as I wore my normal Thorlo socks in there, hiking socks in there, and they were fine until like I think day two. I could feel moisture coming through. Like I said, it just couldn't handle any more snow, man. You know, and then so that's it. On went waterproof socks, and then that was good. That was really good for you.
Yeah. When I was in America a couple of years ago, I was in hunting in Wyoming and Montana in November, so you can imagine how cold it was. And every day, the outfitter we were with in Montana, they gave us 4 of those hand warmer, activated charcoal packets. Yeah. And so we'd get 4. So we'd put one in underneath each glove in the back of the hand, and then one down between. We wore 2 pairs of socks, a liner sock and then the thicker sock, and put them down in there just so it warmed the blood and so forth going to your extremities to try and counteract that you're losing sensation because of the cold. So and then at night we'd take those and put them in our boots because they last for about 18 hours apparently. So so in the morning we get a fresh set and throw those ones out. All right. Now, look, in terms of other foot care as well, do you guys have any other secrets, any tips? I know some guys use antiperspirant on their feet and try and help stop sweating and the moisture building up inside like that. You're looking at me like that's the weirdest thing you've ever heard, Thane.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. I wouldn't be carrying a bottle of spray because that'd weigh something. My biggest tip is keep your your toenails short.
Yeah, yep. I agree.
Trim them before each hunt, because there's nothing worse than forgetting and getting up there and stabbing down a hill, and you've got this, 8 mil of toenail that shouldn't be there, punching into the front of your boot. Especially if you're running a boot that's kind of close to your fit. Because you will come out with either no toenail or a very black one, and it will just cause you so much pain. But I think one of my things is I don't actually do anything to my feet, but I know a lot of clients end up with blisters from not running LOWA boots, and this is not a pump up the brand, but every person that's come with me on the hardcore hunt that's not in a pair of LOWA boots ends up with some sort of a blister. And it's either because the boots aren't fitting as well, or they've just got so much movement because they don't have that structure to keep the foot flat. What I've found is if you can start out tentatively in the start of the season in the country that's not so bad, you can build up strength in your feet, and also build up calluses, basically build up the skin, so that you sort of want to get a little bit of a rub going on, but not quite rub through to a blister, and then recover from that. Do that a few times, and all of a sudden you've got feet that just can't get a blister. I've found a lot of clients that don't hunt regularly. They say they've been training, as in walking around town in their boots, but you've got to get the angles going. Because that's where you get your rubbing, not just walking down the street. You've got to get the ankles rolling around, and ease into it. And what I find is at the end of the season, I can pretty much take a 5-inch grinder and a flapper wheel to my heel and grind about 3 mil of dried skin, which is just, it's no good for your foot, but it's good for when you're hunting, because it actually having tough feet if you're in that steep country, walking on your toes and cutting into the edges. I suppose it's like anything. If you haven't got the time to invest in toughening, if you go to the gym and you build up your arms, that's cool. You can build up your legs with squats, but you can't go to the gym and like rub your feet on concrete to build up some resistance to what your feet are going to go through, especially on an alpine hunt. And maybe, if your feet get wet or sweaty, building up your foot strength, as in the skin, is something that I subconsciously do. But I wonder if there is a way of toughening them up somehow. I don't know, you guys experienced anything like that you can rub on them or something that toughens them up? Or
I know back in the like my military days, and I'm lucky. I've got flat feet. They're just natural flippers, And one would always think that I would suffer, with high arch boots and stuff. But I've never suffered with it. But I would see other soldiers down in the bathrooms, showering with these boots on. Another one was wiping methylated spirits to try and harden the skin, dry all that sort of stuff. But,
I've heard of that.
And probably another one on the foot care side of things is, and which I didn't pay a lot of attention to until I spent a couple of years in the jungles, was talcum powder to dry your feet out at the end of the day. And I did that very much so down at South Island too. Took the old talcum powder down there, got those wet boots off, and then just put the talcum powder just to absorb a bit of that moisture and stop that, any sort of foot rot you might get and stuff like that in between your toes, particularly if they're going to go back into wet boots or damp boots or be cold all day long. It's just hell on your feet. I've come, particularly when I was in the military doing some big humps in the snow, just feet just fucking aching, man, at the end of the day, just from being scrunched up and cold and just not just like I said, just not being able to feel anything below the ankle, and you're just humping big K's with, ammo and rifles and shit all over you, and just and at pace too, and at a tactical level, so you've got to be all sneaky and all that sort of stuff. So your feet just get hammered, particularly in the military. But lucky for us in the hunting, we can just pull over the side of the track and just take our boots off and sprinkle a bit of baby powder on it, and we're good to go. That would be. I mean, I've only done it a handful of times, and that's because I've gone down to somewhere like the South Island, and my feet have gotten cold and damp, and I know I need to dry them out. And then because that talcum powder is also good for in the middle there as well.
Actually, that reminds me that you might not dry your boots near the fire, but I regularly get back from a hunt in the afternoon when the fire's going and rip off my boots, rip off my socks, and put my feet up on the rocks as close to a fire as I can get them, just to dry them out. Because I usually sleep in socks as well, because I'm always running on the limit with my sleeping bag. But I like to have my feet out, airing, dry for a good hour or so before bed. So that's possibly a foot care thing that you could take away with it.
Yeah, that is one thing I've learnt as well over the last couple of years about when you've got the opportunity during the day to take your boots off and let your feet air, let your socks try and dry a bit and so forth, and just give it all a bit of a refresh. Let the sun on them for a while.
Yeah.
And
I have shot deer in Crocs. Like boots, you sort of get up in the morning, do your morning routine and stuff like that. So
is that a challenge?
Kicking around camp in your Crocs, and then it's, oh shit, there's a deer, Fly down there, and sort of, I think that's one of the things, giving your feet, room, time to dry and breathe out, is bloody critical, particularly when you got to get up and crunch it up the next morning. It's just to rest them right up really well and do whatever you can to keep them warm and dry. And because I know, mate, just days, it's been 2-3 weeks on exercise on the west coast of the South Island, man, where your feet just don't dry out, and it is just, I think, one of those, if you haven't experienced it, it's just one of the most psychologically totally knackering things that that you've got to put those wet boots in the morning on the next day, and you've got your socks in plastic bags on your chest to warm them up so you can put them into your boots. And it's just like you're waiting for the last minute to put those bloody things on. You're waiting for the platoon sergeant to go, all right, boys, let's go. We'll start patrolling now. And that made me so resolute in terms of keeping my feet dry and teaching all the guys I hunt with, man, if you get wet feet, man, that's the soul destroyer. I mean, once your feet go, that just, you can't get away from it. You just keep thinking about your bloody feet, And that's the thing, I always sort of think back to when I'm humping around the hills in my high country. I wish I had these boots when I was in that. I'd be invincible.
I do know a guy. I was hunting with him one time, and he shot a deer with his pants down around his ankle while he was taking a crap. He took his rifle with him. He said, I always take my rifle with me when I go to the toilet because you never know. Sure enough, one day, I see him tramping off. Next minute, boom! Right. Well, look, guys, I'm sure we could sit here talking hunting stories and stuff all night, but I really appreciate all your advice and insight into the boots and so forth. One question before we go, dream hunts. What's the one dream hunt that you guys haven't yet done?
Is this a dream hunt that is unattainable?
Yeah, the one we have to win lotto?
Or one that's attainable?
One that's attainable. Yeah, we can't include politicians or anything like that on the list.
No. I've always really wanted to do like an extreme backcountry moose hunt, either Northwest Territories or the Yukon, basically. So that's a dream for me one day.
You did it again, Thane.
Yeah. Flipped out.
You're on mute.
What was it, Zeb? I missed that because I dropped off.
Sorry. Yeah, so a real remote, like either a hiking, probably more of a backpack, what would you call it? A horseback style Northwest Territories moose hunt, or maybe even the Yukon. But I've done Canada and Alaska, but I just want super remote. I want 2 days of horseback riding to get to where we need to get to. I love that feeling. I try to get it over here, but we've got too many roads in our bush to get that sense of space and animals that may never have been hunted before. And it's not because they're easy to hunt. It's just I feel like I want that adventure of being somewhere where someone else may never have been, or not many people have been.
Yep.
I guess for me, it was very in similar lines. That is something around either bull sheep or bighorn. Somewhere up in those big open expanses, hitting a bullet long range, and just the size of the animals. Either that or one of those Marcos over in Marco Polos and stuff like that. Yeah. But you know what I mean. But
that was my unattainable hunt. Was a Marco.
But when you see those, that they get driven there by guys and all that sort of stuff. So that goes against sort of what we would consider to be the package for us, because we've got to have adversity in there. I can't just have the guy drive me to I'll look over the hill and I shoot this dirty big massive Marco Polo. But definitely something like a bighorn or doll sheep hunt right the back of beyond, maybe one of those planes with the big fat tires on it. Takes me in there, and then we get our llamas and off we go.
Super Cup.
Yeah, that's right. Either that or I always thought moose would be my thing, or but I think I like the environment that the doll sheep and the bighorn sit in. I like those alpine things. I'm not too much into killing anything that can kill me, like a bear or a bloody mountain lion, I think. But and it's something we just don't have. I can shoot deer till the cows come home, but it's to be able to shoot a bighorn or doll sheep. I think then that'll be just and in that environment, backpacking in there, taking a long gun in there and knocking it over and then recovering in there. That would be my lotto hunt anyway.
No, I'm with you, Thane. I'm a doll sheep. That's my ultimate fantasy. Again, flying in a super cub and then hike for 10 days and hopefully try and find a legal ram. And they're the sort of hunts that you might come home empty-handed, but it hasn't been about that. It's everything that from the minute that plane left the ground, that was the trophy. That whole hunt, that whole adventure. But,
definitely.
Very good. All right. Excellent. Thanks, guys. I'm mindful of your time. I realise it's nearly 9 o'clock for you, Thane. So I appreciate you.
Bedtime.
He's just about to go out and do another pack training exercise in the disco boots that make women pregnant.
I'll have to check out these disco boots.
Oh, Jesus.
They're the is it the Alpine?
Yeah, Alpine FL.
Yeah.
Dude, they're just, bro. Honestly, if you could put up with how stiff those soles are, the other boots for you, like in terms of light, but ridiculous, ridiculously light. Yeah.
I think they brought those out just around the time the Deer Expo was on, Zeb, and they didn't have them at the lower display down there. No. They hadn't. They were so fresh.
I can't honestly say that I've laid eyes on them, so I'll have to check them out. They'll be on their website, no doubt.
Yeah, they are quite different, Zeb. Like honestly, they don't have eyelets down the bottom. They have a locking system in there, but then they've got they don't have hooks on the top. Yeah, they are quite a sort of a different boot, very purpose built in terms of well, it's really for it's an Alpine boot, a legitimate Alpine boot, but with all the fat cut off it, mate.
They were co-designed by an alpinist.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's going to be mindful that the sole was made to go into crampons. It's very narrow, and so like I said, you just wander down to the local, hunting and fishing stop and have a look, and then they're super stiff on the sole too. So that's the other thing you need to be mindful of. If you're going to do any flatland walking, you won't want to be wearing these things, mate. Yeah. They're for the hills, mate. They're for the hills and the rocks. Yeah. Just one thing I would say, before we clock off to Bryce is that when any of the guys are choosing boots, I mean, I know. Deb and I have sort of got our favourite boots, but I mean, LOWA does have a wide range of boots for a wide range of purposes, and I know definitely on the New Zealand LOWA site, the Doolies have a really good video on how to select the boots based on, the different type of environment you're hunting, the flex on the sole. So it's quite well explained on the LOWA site in New Zealand. So yeah, I mean, that'd be something that's for your listeners to, if they are curious and they think me and Zeb are just talking through holes in our asses, but yeah, to pop onto the New Zealand LOWA site, and like I said, the Dooley guys have got a really good video on boot selection. You know.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Zeb. Where can people go to find you?
I've got a website, zebrashunting.com. I've also got a YouTube channel, Zebra's Samba Hunting Adventures, Patreon, Instagram, ZebraJ82, Facebook, basically all the socials. Punching Samba Deer Hunting. I'm sure you'll find this big beard staring back at you somewhere along the line. Not hard to find, I don't think. Yep.
All right. And Thane, where are people going to look for you?
Oh, just put Rogee Productions and Mr. Google, mate, you'll find me.
Yep.
Mainly sort of YouTube and Instagram. I think in my main two social media platforms that I sort of operate on. I did try TikTok, but I'm not that flashy at dancing. So and I like to keep my clothes on.
So Zane's got his Patreon. Then are you going for an OnlyFans? Sell some bikini shots or something?
Oh, just roaming around on my first like this, one of the two.
Great stuff. All right, guys, thanks again. Really appreciate your time and sticking with me.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Okay, catch you.
See you, mate.
Hey, thank you for listening in. If you'd like to contact me for a chat, pass on any feedback, or have some ideas for future podcasts, please reach out to me on Instagram at australian_hunting_backcountry or email australian.hunting.backcountry@outlook.com.au. For now though, please look after yourselves and your mates.